size, weight, image quality, low light performance, and indeed price. In this video, I'm going to go through the main differences that you can expect between similar quality 8x42 binoculars and an 8x32. This way, by the end of it, no matter if your interest is general use, wildlife observation, birding, hunting, or indeed any other, you'll be able to know which configuration is more suited to your specific needs and requirements. And we're going to start right now. Hello and welcome to Best Binocular Reviews. My name is Jason. Continuing on with BBR's mini Bino War series, in which I pit varying configurations of binoculars against each other to see which work out best under different situations and for different uses. Today we're going to look at the most important differences between a mid-size 8x32 binocular and the full-size 8x42. But before we begin, it is important that you understand what it means when I refer to an 8x32, 8x42, or indeed any other configuration of binocular. If you're unsure, please first take a moment to watch my video on what the numbers mean on a binocular. Link is up above and in the description down below. As I still have both of these samples with me, and indeed because I feel that they are fairly typical within their respective configurations and size categories, I will be using these two Hawke Frontier EDX binoculars as the example instruments throughout this video. However, whilst they may be typical in terms of their characteristics, in terms of their build quality and performance, these two binoculars are anything but typical, as they both scored very highly on the BBR website when I tested and reviewed them. Indeed, this 8x42 model won the award for the best birding binoculars earlier this year, and I highly recommend that you check out the full review of the model that most suits your needs at the end of the video. You'll find these links in the description down below. The clue is in the name, and therefore an 8x42 binocular like these have objective lenses that are 42mm in diameter. Whereas, you guessed it, an 8x32 has objective lenses that are 32mm in diameter. And therefore, it is quite easy and obvious to understand that in order to accommodate the larger lenses, a 42mm binocular like these is naturally going to be larger than a 32mm one. 42mm lenses are obviously 10mm larger in diameter than the 32mm ones, and thus the ends of the barrels where the objective lenses are set into reflect this difference by pretty much the same proportion. So measuring my two samples, the 8x32 Hawke Frontier EDX actually measures 42mm at the ends of the barrels, because the chassis and rubber armouring makes up the extra 10mm, whilst the 8x42 version has barrels that are 51.5mm across at the ends. You will also notice that 8x32 binoculars are considerably shorter than 8x42s. So in this example, the Hawke 8x32 is actually 4.7 inches long or 11.9 centimeters, whilst the 8x42 version is 5.5 inches long or 14 centimeters. These lengths and the difference between them are fairly typical for what you could expect to see between binoculars with these two configurations. The extra material required to make the larger lenses, body and chassis all add up. And thus, as well as being larger, a typical 8x42 binocular is also heavier than an 8x32. Once again, using these two Hawke binoculars as examples, the 8x42 Frontier EDX weighs 25 ounces or 723 grams, whilst the smaller 8x32 version comes in at 18.5 ounces or 524 grams. Making them roughly 25% more lightweight, which in my experience is fairly typical. These weights are representative for mid to high-end binoculars within their respective size classes. Here I emphasize the words mid to high-end because both these binoculars use magnesium as the main material for the chassis. As well as this, they also use a lot of metal components like the focus wheel and the eyepiece housings. However, when shopping around, you may notice that there will be some binoculars, usually at the cheaper end of the market, that are far more lightweight. This is because they use polycarbonate plastics for many of these parts, including the chassis, which may not be as robust, but is much more lightweight and cheaper to produce. This is something to keep in mind and to be aware of when deciding what the right balance is between weight, strength, and cost in relation to how you use your binoculars. Just like the windows in your house, where the larger ones let in more light. The larger surface area on these 42mm binoculars means that they have the ability to capture more light than the smaller ones on these 32mm binoculars. The expertise of the manufacturer, as well as the level of optics and coatings used, play a large part in determining the overall image brightness and quality. However, larger lenses have the potential to capture and let in more light, and this is a great start. And therefore, an 8x42 binocular has the potential to deliver a brighter, higher quality view with an improved low light performance than an equivalent 8x32 binocular. As well as this, during the day in normal light conditions, a good quality 8x32 binocular is perfectly capable of capturing and transmitting more than enough light to your eyes so that you are able to observe a bright, high quality image. Therefore, under ideal, normal, and even fairly average light conditions, it is likely that you will not be able to differentiate between the views of an equal quality 8x32 and an 8x42 binocular. However, when the light is not optimal, like you're likely to experience just after sunset, before sunrise, and even in a forest or dense woodland, the additional capability of the larger lenses on the 8x42 binocular come into play. And this is where you will start to observe the difference in brightness between the two different configurations. Much of the difference in the respective low light capabilities of an 8x32 versus an 8x42 binocular can be explained by the relationship between the size of the shaft of light exiting the ocular lenses, known as the exopupil, and the size of the pupils in your eyes at any given time. So, 8x32 binoculars produce a 4mm wide exopupil, whilst 8x42s produce a larger 5.25mm exopupil. In good light conditions, the pupils in your eyes will most likely be smaller than both the exopupil produced by an 8x32 and an 8x42, and thus both deliver more than enough light to your eyes to enable you to see a bright image. When the ambient light conditions deteriorate, your pupils begin to enlarge, until in very low light they can reach a maximum size of around 7mm in diameter. Thus, in these situations, the amount of light your eyes are receiving is less than ideal, and so binoculars with larger exopupils, like the 8x42 in this case, will produce brighter, better quality views. More of this can be found in my complete guide to the exopupil, link in the description down below. An additional advantage of a larger exopupil is that they also make it easier for you to line up your eyes with the light exiting the eyepieces, and thus an 8x42 binocular may be just that little bit easier to use for the more novice user, as it makes it easier for you to achieve an image without any black rings forming on the edges of the view. 8x42 binoculars are usually a little more expensive than the 8x32 alternative from the same series and from the same manufacturer. The amount they differ depends on the brand, what price range of binoculars you are looking at, and where in the world you are shopping. But in general, I have found that the price difference tends to be between 5 and 20%. So as you can see, and as is the case with just about any combination of different binocular configurations, there really is no single best option. Rather, it boils down to which is more ideal to your specific needs and requirements. So in this example, these 8x32 binoculars are a better option if you're looking for a more compact, easy to carry binocular. And whilst they may not be able to quite match the 8x42 in terms of image brightness and especially low light performance, so long as you get a pair with high quality optics, they will be able to more than hold their own in all but really bad light conditions. Therefore, 8x32 binoculars are ideal for the traveller, so I'm thinking of safari holidays or birding holidays for examples, or for a person who also carries a lot of other gear. So for instance, like me, I'm often carrying a camera with me, or if you've got some hunting equipment, they may also make a great choice, where the smaller size and more lightweight instrument really can be of benefit. On the other hand, 8x42 binoculars like these are widely considered to be the ideal general use all-round instrument, able to perform very well in a wide variety of uses and conditions, as they provide a very good balance between the light gathering capability versus the size and weight of the instrument. So whilst these may not be quite as convenient to carry or travel with as the mid-size 8x32, the advantage they have is they offer you a wider operating window with which to work in terms of their image brightness in low light conditions. It is for these reasons as well as a few others outside of the scope of this video, why 8x42 binoculars are a popular choice for wildlife observers and especially birders who operate in conditions or at times of the day where their light conditions may not be ideal. So for example, in thickly wooded areas, forests, or just before sunrise and sunset. So there you have it. I do hope that this video has been of both use and of interest to you. If it has, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. If you want to be sure to see more and more content of mine in the future, please remember to hit that subscribe button. This is something that really does help me and I really appreciate it. So that being said, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you again next time. Cheers for now.